Welcome to Damn Good Movie Memories with your host, Brian Davis. This podcast is the cure for your long commute and super boring workday.
Yes, it's monkey business, all right. And believe me, Cary never had so much fun in his life. Want to know why? Well, just look at what goes into this monkey business. There's a generous helping of Ginger. Ginger Rogers, that is. A dash of Charles Coburn for a chaser. Plenty of Marilyn Monroe for spice. And someone to see that things shape up properly. Scientifically, of course.
I've done a lot of experimenting with this kind of thing.
You can come in now, if you're not too busy.
Miss Laura was just showing me her acetates.
It all began when Rudolph, the chimp, discovered the formula for eternal youth that makes people grow younger and younger and younger.
Edwina, what I have to tell you is unbelievable.
Oh?
Oh, well, I'll start at the beginning. Edwina, at 11:52 this morning, I took a dose of the formula. And in a few minutes, I began to behave exactly like a college boy. Well, all set?
Is your motor running?
Is yours? Takes a while to warm up.
Does me too. By the way, whose lipstick is it?
What's her name? You know, Oxley's secretary.
Oh, you mean that little pin-up girl, huh? Very cute.
Sort of, but half infant.
Not the half that's visible. Hi, Dr. Fulton.
Hi.
What'd you say to her?
Mrs. Fulton, he said hi.
I heard what he said, you peroxide kissing bug.
Edwina, she didn't do anything.
I'll pull that blonde hair off by its black roots.
Edwina, please. Edwina,
Come
stop
on,
it.
come on,
Miss
come
Laura,
on,
you keep out of the
come
way.
on.
Hey there, it's Brian Davis, and for this week's movie, we're going to cover Monkey Business from 1952. The studio was 20th Century Fox. The release date was September 5th, 1952. The running time was 97 minutes, and it was in black and white. As with a lot of old movies, I have no idea what the budget was, nor the box office. Leonard Maltin, in his classic movie guide, gives it 3 out of 4 stars, and his quick little synopsis is: Cary Grant discovers a rejuvenation serum which affects him, his wife Ginger Rogers, his boss Charles Coburn, and his secretary Marilyn Monroe in this zany comedy. Coburn's classic line to Monroe, "Find someone to type this," is written by Ben Heck, Charles Lederer, and I.A.L. Diamond. That's Howard Hawks' voice during the opening credits. Rotten Tomatoes gives it 88% fresh from 25 reviews. So I'm sure this movie often gets mistaken for the Marx Brothers classic from 1931, which shares the same title, and it's also a screwball comedy. However, once I saw this film in my late 20s, this immediately became one of my favorite classic comedies. I always loved Cary Grant and Ginger Rogers, and while the film sort of gets marketed now as a Marilyn Monroe film because she appears on the revised movie posters and DVD covers, she's really just a supporting actor in the film, though she does a great job with her role. All right, let's get into the main cast. Of course, you have Cary Grant playing Dr. Barnaby Fulton. Grant was already a huge star at this point in his career, so audience flocked to whatever new film he appeared in. Though Grant commented at the time he was getting a bit tired of playing, quote, Cary Grant, because he'd been doing it for 20 years of being in successful films. Some notable films that he was in prior to Monkey Business included Bringing Up Baby, Gunga Din, His Girl Friday, The Philadelphia Story, which we also did, Suspicion, Arsenic and Old Lace, Notorious, great Hitchcock film, The Bachelor and the Bobby Soxer, and Mr. Blandings Builds His Dream House, who some people might know, the remake, with Tom Hanks and Shelley Long called The Money Pit. Ginger Rogers plays Edwina Fulton, and if you didn't know, Rogers became a huge star in the 1930s as part of the dance film duo with Fred Astaire, Fred and Ginger. They appeared in a number of very popular musicals, and they starred in 9 movies together before Ginger Rogers decided that she wanted to appear in more dramatic roles. And this proved to be a terrific career choice for her, as she's one of the top actresses of the 1940s, and then earned an Oscar for Best Actress for Kitty Foyle. Charles Coburn plays Oliver Oxley, and he was always a great comedic character actor, usually playing a stodgy old businessman. He appeared in 2 films with Ginger Rogers in the 1930s, Vivacious Lady and Bachelor Mother, and he continued to work steadily in the 1940s and was nominated for Best Supporting Actor for the film The Devil and Miss Jones. He was also nominated for The More the Merrier and The Green Years. I mentioned before Marilyn Monroe is in the film, and she plays the character Lois Laurel. So once Monroe died in 1962, all of her past work, even smaller roles, really became of interest to the movie-going public. And Monroe really didn't hit it big until after Monkey Business with 1952's Niagara with Joseph Cotten, and then 1953's Gentlemen Prefer Blondes, where she co-starred with Jane Russell. So her role in this movie as Lois was her typical ditzy type of role she was mostly typecast for. The director was Howard Hawks, and at this point, Hawks was one of the top directors in Hollywood. He established himself in the business directing films since the 1920s. Some of his most notable films leading up to Monkey Business include the original Scarface from 1932, Bringing Up Baby, His Girl Friday, Sergeant York, and To Have and Have Not. He was also directing The Big Sleep, Red River, and The Original Thing from Another World. All right, let's get into the movie. The movie starts off with kind of a playful bit where Cary Grant opens a door a few times only to have the narrator say, "Not yet, Cary." So right off the bat, the movie makers are kind of breaking the fourth wall, as they say. Dr. Barnaby Fulton, of course, that's Cary Grant, is married to Edwina, and that's Ginger Rogers, and Grant plays kind of an absent-minded professor of sorts. He doesn't seem to be able to do normal things like remembering to lock his front door, mostly due to having his scientific experiments on his mind at all times. So Grant is a chemist trying to find cures for aging, and his test subjects are lab monkeys. Hank, played by Hugh Marlowe, plays Grant's friend, and he's frustrated that Grant cares more about work than enjoying his life. Marlowe actually looks a lot like George Segal, and I always thought Segal, as a young man, that was him when I first saw this movie, but it isn't. So you might remember Marlowe as Lloyd Richards in All About Eve, and then he also played Tom Stevens in The Day the Earth Stood Still. In any case, it's obvious Marlowe has a thing for Ginger Rogers, as he wanted to marry her when they were younger, but she married Cary Grant instead. So right off the bat, you can kind of see a plot point arising, and that is, the absent-minded professor forgets about his wife over his work, while the old flame hangs around for a chance to swoop in at some point. Grant goes to work the next morning, and we get to see Marilyn Monroe as Lois Laurel, a secretary for the company. Again, I think many folks who are looking to watch all of Marilyn Monroe's movies discover this film just for that reason, without realizing that her role isn't that large, as the stars were really Cary Grant and Ginger Rogers. However, she does make her mark with her humor as a beautiful but somewhat ditzy character.
Just a moment, please.
Good morning.
Oh, Dr. Fulton, Mr. Oxley would like to see you in his office.
Thank you.
Good morning, Dr. Fulton.
Good morning. Aren't you here early?
Oh, yes. Mr. Oxley's been complaining about my punctuation, so I'm careful to get here before 9. Mr. Oxley's on the telephone. Won't you sit down? I'm glad we have a moment. I have something I want to show you.
For instance?
Isn't it wonderful?
I beg your pardon?
The new non-rip plastic stockings you invented.
Oh, the N41 acetate project.
This is an experimental pair. The first pair out of the factory. Aren't you proud?
Turned out rather well.
I'll say you can't tear them or snag them or anything.
Oh, I'm familiar with the
No
project.
matter how hard you try. You'd be amazed, Doctor.
Oh, no, I wouldn't be amazed. I've done a lot of experimenting with this kind of thing. Of course, I'm through with all of that now.
Oh, Mr. Oxley, Dr. Fulton's here.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning. You can come in now,
Thank you.
if you're not too busy.
Well, Miss Laura was just showing me her acetates.
Yes. No calls, please.
Yes, sir. Mr. Oxley, Dr. Linton's on the phone. I told him you were busy, but he says it's very important.
Who is he?
Well, he's Dr.
He's my new assistant.
Oh, yes. Oh, just a moment, Miss Laurel. Find someone to type this.
Oh, Mr. Oxley, can't I try again?
No, it's very important. Better find someone to type it for you.
Yes, sir.
Anybody can type.
Grant seems oblivious to Monroe's beauty and kind of naive flirting, but it makes for fun plot points. Oliver Oxley is Charles Coburn, and he's Grant's boss, and the owner of the company is really pushing for Grant to find this elixir for the anti-aging potion. So Grant and Coburn believe that one of the older monkeys named Rudolph, who was around 84 human years, took the potions and is now, acting like a young chimp. He's swinging around like he's found the fountain of youth. And that's what Grant's discovery turns out to be. Not anti-aging, but a complete reversal of aging going back to the recipient's younger years. However, as it turns out, it was a false alarm because the chimp in question was indeed a younger chimp mislabeled, and it was really Esther. But we know something is going on, and likely this is just a MacGuffin in the plot to keep you guessing.
Your formula will have the same effect in humans. Yes, it's the greatest thing in modern science.
Sit down with that.
We intend to discontinue every other product in the plant. We'll turn out B4 and nothing but B4. I'd like to offer myself as the first human to try it.
Mr. Oxley, that may be dangerous.
I'm perfectly willing to take that chance.
Oh, but this isn't Rudolph.
What?
But no. This chimpanzee is only 6 months old. Rudolph is a male. This is a female.
Barnaby, are you sure?
Well, reasonably. She's wearing Rudolph's jacket, but this is Esther. Here, hold on to Esther, will you please? Look, I'll prove it to you. Now there's Rudolph with Esther's number on.
Well, I suppose the janitor gave them a bat and switched jackets by mistake.
Yes, well, I suppose that's the way it happened, Mr.
I
Oxley.
certainly feel that now.
Well, personally, I'm glad it happened. No, you're expecting too much from that formula of B4, Mr. Oxley. Perhaps it's the name that's confusing you. If you just let me work in the laboratory for a couple of hours, I'll be better able to prove what the formula will do.
Well, let me know when you're ready. And let's have no more of these false alarms. They certainly take it out of a man. Come along, Miss Laurel.
What a ridiculous way to start a day.
So Esther gets out of her cage and starts mixing random chemicals together that Grant had left out on the table. She then drinks the mixture of chemicals. She then takes the rest of the beaker and dumps it into the water cooler that is left tankless after the janitor came in earlier. The janitor finds Esther out of her cage while bringing in another water tank. He then puts her back in the cage and then puts the water jug into the cooler. Of course, this just means the chemicals are now mixed in the water in the cooler. Grant comes back into the room and drinks the elixir he created, but then decides to wash it down what he thinks is just water from the cooler. And he doesn't realize that Esther spiked the cooler with additional chemicals. So almost immediately, Grant starts to feel strange. His symptoms include dizziness, and his vision becomes cloudy. And as it turns out, he can now see perfectly once he removes his glasses, which are incredibly thick. He now has 20/20 vision, and he doesn't need glasses. He no longer has bursitis in his arm, and he is doing cartwheels. Quickly, Grant feels like a kid again, along with his attitude, which becomes increasingly childlike. Grant then decides to go into town. He gets a haircut, a new suit, and a new car. Coburn instructs Monroe to find Grant to find out what he's doing, and she finds him at a car lot, and Grant decides to take his hot rod for a wild ride around town with Monroe. They end up roller skating and then swimming. They're basically like teenagers on a date.
To be honest with you, Dr. Fulton, I don't think either you or Mrs. Fulton are going to be happy with this type of car. It isn't exactly what you had in mind.
Yeah. Well, you're perfectly right. Let's take off the fenders.
No, I'm sorry, we can't do that, Doctor. It's against the state law.
Ah, it's too bad. Well, say, you don't happen to have a beaver tail anywhere around, do you? Hello, Miss Laurel.
Oh, hello, Dr. Fulton.
Hi.
Hi. I'm so glad I found you.
No, I found you. Pick a finger.
Dr. Fulton.
Oh, you know that one?
Yes.
Oh, what a pity.
Mr. Oxley sent me. He wants to see you right away.
Oh, well, hop in the bus. I'll get you there in a hurry.
Is this your car?
Sure.
Gee, it's a handy...
Well, it takes one to know one. Oh, Mr. Peabody, would you get that soup box out of my own car, please? Well, all set?
Is your motor running?
Is yours?
Here you are, Doctor.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Peabody. Just mail me the bill.
Certainly.
Takes a while to warm up.
Does me too.
Well, watch your head. I'll watch everything else.
I know. We're going to circle the field, so fasten your safety belt and no smoking. See if the flaps are down. Well, Doc, she'll be good as new by 5 o'clock. 5 o'clock? Oh, we can do lots of things by then. Can't we?
Sure, Doc. You skate much now?
Oh, not lately. But don't worry, I'll show you how.
Look out, Doc! Careful!
Oh, I'm all right. I'll get the hang of it soon. I'm going to be good. You wait. Oh, look out! Well!
Doc, that's awful high.
Oh, no, not for me. Well, everybody looking at me. How about some music?
I love it. You sure know how to have a good time.
Yeah.
You know something? I used to think you didn't like me.
Hey, just a minute.
Do you like me a little?
No, just a minute.
Well, say so.
I like you.
I'm crazy about you, Doc.
Yeah. Oh, no. Wait. Listen to this.
Oh, that's dull. Let's get...
Don't you dare turn that off. That's our favorite song.
Ours?
Yeah, Edwina's and mine.
Edwina.
My wife.
Oh.
Gentlemen songsters off on the spree.
I must say, it sounds like a silly song to me.
Why must you say that?
In my opinion, it's a silly song.
In my opinion, your opinion that it's a silly song is a silly opinion.
Oh.
Is it getting dark?
No, not particularly. What's the matter?
That's wrong. Must be something wrong with my eyes.
Is there anything I can do, Doctor?
No. It's just I can't see very well, so...
Please don't be angry with me.
Oh, I'm not angry.
Because I wouldn't...
Why did you yell?
Because... Nothing. Don't be mad at me,
Oh,
Doc.
I'm not mad. Tell me, is the plant along here somewhere?
Yes.
Would you please tell me where to turn?
Turn right. Now. Turn, Doctor, turn.
Now?
Yes, turn. Doctor,
Oh, you all right, Miss Laurel?
I told you to turn.
Yes, I know. I'm terribly sorry. But I'm afraid I can't see. Would you be good enough to park the car for me, please?
Sure I will.
Thank you.
So it's kind of like that Grant is in another world and doesn't realize what he's doing. He sort of thinks Monroe is like a younger version of his wife. And then the potion wears off and he's back to his regular self again. That night, Grant decides to do another experiment, but with a bigger dose, but this time Ginger Rogers is around to make sure nothing goes wrong. And then Rogers decides to take the potion herself, much to the horror of Grant. Of course, neither one of them realize that the initial potion won't work without the cocktail that the monkey, Esther, created, that it's mixed in, with water from the cooler. So after drinking the first potion, which tastes bitter, the immediate reaction is to then quickly drink water to remove the aftertaste. They also think that the water is also tasting bitter, but then they think it's just a reaction to the first potion. You with me? All right. So Rogers has the same crazy effect as Grant did, but now it's even more powerful because she drank more. And this leads to her playing kid pranks on Charles Coburn, like putting live fish in his pants or putting a cream pie on his chair as he sits down.
Pulse around 150. Just the same as mine was. There doesn't seem to be any fever.
Outside of being somewhat embarrassed, I feel exceedingly well.
What reaction do you expect, Barnaby?
Well, I don't quite know. I suppose it depends upon the individual.
With you, it took the form of thinking as though you were 20.
Oh, that's true. Keep still, Edwina. That's good.
What was Mrs. Fulton like at that age?
Huh? Well, Edwina was a very serious-minded student. She majored in economics and took several summer courses in ichthyology and cooking.
Ichthyology?
The study of fish.
Jerome said your first symptoms was your eyes. Your vision became perfect.
Oh, that's true, Mr. Oxley, but you can't count upon that. You see, Edwina's vision is already perfect. It will probably take an entirely different form.
My dear, do you feel anything strange?
Not a thing. How about you, Mr. Oxley?
Oh, but I haven't taken anything.
Oh, yes, you have, Mr. Oxley.
Did you hear that, Barnaby? A rather odd reaction.
Undoubtedly, we can expect something soon.
We certainly can.
She's sitting very still. Is it possible there's not enough movement?
Well, if there isn't, there soon will be.
I can hardly wait for the results. This is quite a moment.
That's it, Oxley. Watch him, Barnaby, watch him. It's working, it's working.
It's working. You hear what she said, Barnaby? It's taking effect. Something wrong, Barnaby.
Oh, what's the matter, sir?
I don't know.
Oh, well, perhaps the excitement's been too much for you. Perhaps you want to sit down, Mr. Oxley. No, calm yourself, Mr. Oxley. Now, take your time, Mr. Oxley. That's better. Take your time and sit down. Oh, my.
Oh, my. Give me a piece of pie. Give me a piece of pie.
I think we ought to go now.
Give me a piece of pie.
No, I think we ought to go, yes.
Give me a piece of pie.
Barnaby, where are you going?
Oh, I'll be right back, Mr. Oxley. Yes.
Hi, Dr. Fulton.
Hi.
What did you say to her?
Mrs. Fulton, he said hi.
I heard what he said, you peroxide-kissing bug.
Edwina, she hasn't done anything.
I'll pull that blonde hair out by its black roots.
Edwina, now come along. Miss Laura, you keep out of the way. Edwina, now stop it. Mr. Oxley, I'll be right back.
Put him up.
So Ginger wants to go dancing like she's back with Fred Astaire, and this is actually a super fun scene as she's dancing like a teenager while Grant has no idea what to do and is physically exhausted while she's full of energy.
Edwina, dear.
Barney, listen to that. Let's not waste time. Let him take the bags on up to the room.
Darling, it's 11 o'clock. I've had a very rough day.
Oh, Barney, you promised.
Just put the keys in the room, bring me the bags, and I'll...
I could never be mad or unhappy when I hear it. I just want to be near you.
Yes, dear.
Barney, waltz, waltz, waltz.
Yes, dear.
So when the energy effects wear off for Rogers, she becomes irrational and looks to fight with Cary Grant over anything he mentions. She almost turns into an adolescent, which means the effect of the potion makes them even younger than they planned. There's a funny scene where Rogers locks out Grant and he can't find his glasses and ends up falling into the laundry chute. The next morning, Rogers is back to normal, not realizing what she did. However, Hank is trying to break, them up as a couple so that he can rekindle his romance with Ginger Rogers. So Hank claims that Grant beat Rogers to her mother in order to cause a rift between the two, and Hank's ploy doesn't work. So because of the crazy side effects, Grant decides to destroy the formula. Unfortunately, nobody realizes that the formula is in the water cooler, which again was created by Esther the monkey. Rogers makes a pot of coffee by using the water from the cooler, and they both end up being dosed again. This time, their excursions get even crazier. Both Grant and Rogers are now mentally the equivalent of a 10-year-old, which means they are like crazy kids in adult bodies. Rogers blows bubbles with her gum while meeting with Coburn, and Rogers also decides to shoot Monroe in the butt with a slingshot, which Monroe thinks that it's Charles Coburn, and then that Cary Grant also pinched her and then slaps them both. The scenes are pure screwball comedy at its finest. Coburn asks how much Grant wants to sell his formula, and Grant replies, $1 zillion and a nickel. Rogers, in the meantime, writes Barnaby Loves Edwina on the chalkboard in the conference room. The two end up chasing each other around the office like, kids. And it's really funny to see two actors really let loose. It's almost like Tom Hanks in the movie Big. Then Ginger Rogers and Cary Grant find cans of paint at a house while walking down the street, and that leads to both of them splattering paint on each other. Then the two find a group of kids playing cowboys and Indians and decide to join in on the fun. Are kids even allowed to play this game anymore?
What do you want us to do with a bad man, Red Eagle? Yeah, Red Eagle, tell us.
Well, first we stop his car and then capture him.
Then what do we do with him? That's time to a stake, and then burn him.
Yeah.
Yeah, and burn him good. That won't work.
Who said that?
I did.
Oh, you? Huh. Why won't it work?
Somebody will stop us the minute we light a fire. They always do. Yeah, that's right. What do you say, Red Eagle?
Well, let's tie him to a stake and scalp him. That's it.
You mean for real?
Sure.
Can't scalp anybody unless you do a war dance first.
Oh, well, just a minute. I'll... Now, remember that. You two braves...
Can't scalp anybody unless you do a war dance first.
He's
right, Red Eagle.
Well, we can scalp him, can't we?
You have to do a war dance first.
So the little kid with the hilarious voice is George Winslow and appeared in a really funny movie called Mr. Scoutmaster with Clifton Webb. There's even a quick cameo of very young Kathleen Freeman. Remember her as the Penguin in the Blues Brothers? She plays Cary Grant's next-door neighbor. The rest of the movie is just madcap zaniness in its finest form, and of course there's a happy ending, but I'm not going to give it away since the road to the ending is terrific. This is definitely a great comedy to check out if you're a fan of any of the three main actors. Alright, one quick fun fact. Marilyn Monroe was a huge fan of Cary Grant when she was growing up, and as a foster child, she had many posters of him on her wall. Alright, we have our resident classic movie lover, and that is Samantha on for the podcast, and she enjoys this movie as well, and I talked to her about her thoughts on the film. And I will be back next week to discuss another random movie from my DVD collection. Okay, we're back with Samantha. Welcome back.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, so... you're kind of our go-to movie person when it comes to classic films.
Yeah.
And so...
I wouldn't say I'm an expert, but...
none of us are experts.
No,
so
but I love them.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, I guess, the point, right?
Well, that actually brings up a good point before we get into it. What about classic, especially like black and white movies, why is that comfort food for you?
I think for me, maybe it's more of not an academic thing, but I really like history.
Mm-hmm.
So I've always liked old movies because you can just see that little glimpse into the past. And I like seeing how just everybody behaved and looked. But also, I think the plots themselves are, they're the originals, right?
Yeah.
So everything we watch nowadays, it's derived from something.
Sure.
And I think like the foundational, like original old Hollywood movies, they are just awesome because like this was the first time these were ever done.
Right.
So it was new at the time and...
Or they came from plays.
Yeah,
with the Broadway.
plays,
Yeah.
or maybe like an adaptation of an old silent film or something. So, yeah, I just like the simple aspect of some of them.
Yeah.
They're just a lot of them too. It's like dialogue focused, and there's not like a bunch of crazy action or anything. It's just actors acting with kind of that old school.
And then when there were stunts, you knew they were actually doing the stunts because they couldn't afford to do special effects.
Yeah. But I'm trying to like think about when I really got into old movies, and I think it was when I've always watched them, but I think it was more when I was in high school, when I was getting more into like learning about film.
Right.
And I've always been like a big fashion history person. So I was really big into like classic Hollywood actresses and looking at all of their clothing and stuff. So yeah, the movies are so fun. There's a few great little moments in Monkey Business.
Yeah. Oh, well, let's get right into it. So what are your favorite moments of Monkey Business?
Well, it's such a nonsensical, silly movie.
Oh, totally.
But one of my favorite things, it's just kind of a really great example of that kind of little sassy, like old Hollywood charm where today it would be done differently, but it starts out at the beginning with Barnaby and what's Ginger Rogers' name in the movie? I can't remember, but
Edwina,
that's right. How could I forget?
Yeah, they're totally not
Edwina
like common
and
names.
Barnaby. They're at home and they decide to stay home from the party.
Yeah.
And so she, instead of like just putting her apron on, she takes like the top of her dress off and like puts her big apron on over it. And so she's walking around, like from the front it looks like she has a dress on, but then from the back you can tell she has like nothing underneath.
Right.
And then their like lawyer friend comes over and then Cary Grant keeps like trying to cover her up with like a towel.
Well, that's another part of the plot point.
Yeah.
The lawyer friend really had a thing for her back in the day. So, yeah.
But I love that whole like scene of they're in their like little vintage 1950s kitchen and she has her crazy apron on, but at the same time it's kind of like funny, and you know, today it would be done I think in a raunchier way.
Oh, totally.
You know, but it was very like ooh, giggle for the time, right? And
that's what's also great about the older films is the more innuendo.
Yes, that's the word I'm looking for. Where it's more like charming and cute, and you have to really kind of catch it. Yeah. Things aren't done so obviously, and it kind of keeps everything a little like a little sweeter.
Yeah, and it's fun. Like you have to pay attention more. Yeah. So, what are the other favorite scenes from this film?
I really liked moving forward a bit in the plot. Well, of course. Barnaby's like crazy day out.
Yeah.
That whole sequence was fun where he goes and he decides he wants a new car, a new wardrobe. It's a good little like makeover sequence, but
and he's hanging out with Marilyn Monroe at the time.
Monroe, and I can't really like put a finger on what her character's supposed to be. Like, does she have a thing for him, or is she just very like
she's kind of naive.
Naive, but it's funny, and she just kind of hangs out with him for the day. Sure, let's go to the pool.
Well, it's funny. As it turned out, she had a huge thing because Cary Grant's older. He's probably 25, 30 years older, and she always had a thing for him growing up. Like she had his posters on her wall and everything.
So that's a huge starstruck
moment. Totally.
Wow. Yeah. Oh, that's a good little trivia.
Because she was probably in her early 20s.
Yeah, she was really young, and I think he was in his late 40s at this point. But I love that sequence. They're driving around in the car. He wrecks it. And his little outfit that he gets is so... I think people wouldn't really notice, but that haircut that he gets is like, you know, the younger hairstyle for the time, and his little like plaid boxy jacket.
Yes.
And he's not the like zany scientist anymore.
Right.
So that I think that scene, and then it parallels later when Edwina takes the potion or whatever they call it, the formula.
Yeah.
And then she kind of reverts into her like silly schoolgirl self.
Exactly.
And I think both were really well done.
She's really fun. Like when she even talks like a little kid, and then she's got the slingshot.
I think Ginger Rogers. I haven't really seen her like later films. I've just seen most of her random like dance movies. So
and I think most people know her for that. And those never had plots that were that great. It was only for the song and dance. But watch The Major and the Minor. And actually, it's kind of ironic because she's supposed to play a kid in that, even though if you watch it in today's eyes, it may come off as weird, but it's actually really well done with Ray Milland.
Okay, I'll have to watch that because I liked her role here because she has a great little comedic skill and kind of changing from at the beginning, like a little, they were both funny, like as people and characters. You could tell like, oh, when they were younger, they were probably fun. And then when they both kind of undergo the changes. I really liked her scenes later, and especially when they're at the hotel and she finally gets a chance to dance.
Yes.
So,
of course.
There's the star moment.
Yeah.
But that was really cute.
But she's dancing like she was a teenager. And he's getting tired, and then she totally freaks out at the end, or when they get home because
they're still in the hotel.
That's right.
And he's really tired, and she goes back, and then she just basically starts having a meltdown, like an emotional meltdown that makes no sense.
Yeah, it's like a teenager.
It's like, oh my God, a 14-year-old. And she starts crying, and then she starts calling people and locks him out.
Yeah, she calls her mom, I think, right? Yeah.
And the lawyer, who
of
used
course.
to be her, or I don't know if they dated or whatever, but he had a thing for her, and so that kind of makes a mess.
And that's a common trope, like with the friend that's still trying to get the girl type thing, even though they've been married for a while.
I know. I know, and it's like, oh, I think they're fine. Yeah. But he still thinks he has a chance. And
the other great actor is Charles Coburn, who plays the boss.
Yeah.
Like he's in a lot of those movies as the same type of character.
Yeah. He was funny, and then at the end too. He drinks a bit of it, right? Like all the people at the end, they drink it, and
the plot's ridiculous in the sense that basically the monkey is the test monkey is really the one that came up with the potion. They have no idea why it's doing that.
And then put it in the water. So every time they drink the water, all the crazy stuff happened. And it makes no sense.
It's almost like a Disney movie in some, like an old Disney movie.
Because like, oh, my eyesight, I can see perfectly. Like, no, it doesn't work like that. But it's if you can suspend your disbelief, it's a cute plot. And
so how did you even discover this movie, or is it like TCM or something?
I think it was a TCM find. And then I watched it. I think I watched it just a few months ago. It came up. Oh, it could have even been like Christmas time. I feel like I just watch a ton of old movies during the holidays. But I watched it a few months ago, and then I watched it again right before this. So it still held up. Like, it's funny. Like, I had a few laugh out loud moments.
Totally. Yeah.
But it's not super long either. It keeps up a really good pace, and it is ridiculous, but all the jokes are funny, and the characters are pretty unique, and the monkeys also are very well trained, which is incredible. I want to know how they did that, because it looked like things were done in like single takes.
Exactly.
And the monkey was just mixing things together.
Yep.
And they were wearing little tennis shoes.
Yeah.
Which is something to look out for. It was very cute.
Yeah, that's a good call.
Yeah, it was like a lot going on.
Yeah, for like that type of movie. You bring up a good point about comedies. Anything more than 90 minutes is like a waste for a comedy. And so that's something that every movie's 2 hours now.
Too long.
Yeah.
I love a good 90-minute comedy.
Yeah.
Where it moves fast. There are, it's snappy. And like in Monkey Business, there were kind of a few, I would say, pauses in the plot where it slowed down a bit, and some heart-to-heart moments. But generally, it moved really fast, and I think real time. What it was like, maybe a day or two.
Yeah, easily.
In their time. So
yeah,
I think that's all you need is just a quick 90 minutes, and a small cast too. I think that helps. I like that mostly when they're like, you have your two main characters and then a couple of really great
supporting
cast members. I think these are my favorite types of comedies.
Mine too.
Either the married couple or the couple, and they get into silly hijinks.
Sure. And I think a lot of people, probably the only reason they know this movie is because of Marilyn Monroe.
Yeah.
Like, they go back and want to see all of her films. But really, she is just supporting cast. Like,
she's a supporting cast, but she's really, really great. Like, she does shine. Like, her first, like, scene when I think she's, like, sitting at her desk. Yeah. And then it's like, oh, there's Marilyn Monroe. Yeah. And then she has to go and show Barnaby her, like, stockings.
Right.
Because I guess he invented them. And then he's like just so oblivious and like doesn't care. Yeah. So he's like, oh yeah, look at those.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's a typical tropes, but she plays that. She's always played that character well, and
it's like natural and
not that much different than Some Like It Hot.
Like,
So
definitely.
So Samantha recommends you check it out. I recommend you check it out. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not, I think, super well known, but it's a fun watch. I watched it free on YouTube.
There you go.
So.
And it's a good movie for Cary Grant and Ginger Rogers if you haven't.
Cary Grant, because he did these kind of comedies when he was younger, and then.
They're screwball comedies.
It reflects a lot toward there, but you see him kind of playing more of a kind of uptight older professor.
Yeah.
But he's still a little goofy.
Especially when he has to break out.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you, Samantha.
You're welcome. Until next time.
Till next time.
Hey, this is Brian Davis, and you might know me from the Damn Good Movie Memories podcast. And now, get ready for the Bad Beat Show on thatmetalstation.com from 11 p.m. to 1 a.m. Eastern every Wednesday night. I'm going to play some kick-ass hard rock inspired by the blues, because after all, the foundation of all things rock and metal is, of course, the blues. So join me every Wednesday night for the Bad Beat, because even when you lose, you still win.
We are officially on Spotify now, so if you don't use iTunes, if you don't use the Podbean app, you can go to Spotify and get all of our past episodes. You can stream it on there, so if you're a Spotify user, you can go find Damn Good Movie... I can't even say my own podcast. Damn Good Movie Memories. Yes, I know what I'm talking about. I'm the host, right? Okay, so go to Spotify, look for Damn Good Movie Memories. You can stream all of that stuff. And so if you don't want to use iTunes, you don't want to use Podbean, you can use Spotify as well. All right, before we sign off, we do have t-shirts are available for sale. All you have to do is go to TeePublic, that's TeePublic.com, and you can get your very own Damn Good Movie Memories t-shirt. You can get all sizes, any gender, you can get whatever you want just at the tip of your fingers. So just go to TeePublic.com, look up Damn Good Movie Memories, and you can get your very own t-shirt. If you enjoy this podcast and are an iTunes user, please do the show a favor and head on over to the official iTunes page for Damn Good Movie Memories. Be sure to leave a rating and a review. This will allow the show to appear higher in the algorithm and spread the joy of this podcast to the masses. If you are not an iTunes user, you can still listen and subscribe on Podbean at damngoodmoviememories.podbean.com. Be sure to like us on Facebook under our Damn Good Movie Memories page. You can also listen to a limited number of episodes on YouTube. I hope you enjoyed this week's episode, and be sure to tune in next week for an all-new episode of Damn Good Movie Memories.
I am Dr. Fuck.
And I'm the Absolute Alcoholic.
And we are part of the Rock and Metal Combat Podcast.
We are the Rock and Metal Combat Podcast.
That's right. And the way you can check us out is we are on iTunes and also Podbean. And we forgot a review recently. I got this review right here. It says Rock and Metal Combat Podcast is the greatest podcast in the world, and it's my number one podcast, signed by Science. Now, and then Science also says... Science also said, my second favorite podcast is It Doesn't Matter, the Rest Suck. Rock and Metal Combat Podcast on iTunes and Podbean. Check it out.
Science! Are you ready for the hottest new podcast out there? Check out the Vieira Vault, featuring none other than Dr. Fuck Ralph Vieira. You will hear personal stories and personal songs from the vault. There ain't nothing else like it. The one, the only, the original Vieira Vault on Podbean, Stitcher.com, and iTunes.
Spreaker.
God damn it.
Hey, this is Stephen Michael from the Growing Up Rock podcast. If you're like me and my co-host Sonny Hollywood Pooney, you grew up loving hard rock and metal music. Check out our podcast where we talk to bands and artists that help create the soundtrack to our lives, along with playing some killer new and old deep tracks of kick-ass guitar-driven rock and roll. Find us wherever you find your podcast to listen to. That's the Growing Up Rock Podcast, GrowinUprock. And feel free to hit us up at Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Growing Up Rock. So sit back and crank it up.